2022, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We will call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. You can join today's board meeting via phone, dial 971-254-3149, conference ID 736-023-979#. Audio capabilities are listen only and are offered on a best effort to the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us by going online at tctvonline.com and click on live broadcasts. Masks, face coverings, or face shields must be worn in the courthouse by state order. Masks must be worn while giving comment. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. So again, I want to welcome everyone. Hope everyone has signed our guest list. And let's start, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. And start with you, lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So let's start. Item number 3. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
We do not. Would you like to make a public comment? Please come up. Please state your name and area of residence and the agenda item you are discussing, please.
My name is Vivian Tallman. I live in Nehalem, and I just wanted to make a general comment. I've been coming to these meetings for several months now, and I just want to say that I'm impressed with the scope of work that you 3 commissioners do and how well organized it is, how much attention you put to public input and to organizing the rules so that people can participate in this complicated time, and in any time, really. So I just want to say that I'm thank you for your good work and for your attitude of inclusion. It impresses me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. It's very nice. We do work hard at it, and I'll be honest with you, our staff really does all the work behind the scenes for us.
Yes, well, I should thank the staff.
There you go.
Keep us organized.
There you go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
for sure.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I don't believe we do have any. Any non-agenda items? I don't believe we have any non-agenda items today. So let's dive into our legislative administrative agenda. Item number 5. Discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of the appointment and reappointment of members to the Tillamook County Wellness Advisory Committee. And with us this morning, we have Michelle Yank, Director, Community Wellbeing, Adventist Health. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning. Technology, as it goes during these crazy times, is not being my friend. I just lost my visual to you, but I just regained it. So I'm back in business. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having this on your agenda this morning. I'm here representing Tillamook County Wellness as the coordinator for Tillamook County Wellness through a partnership that Adventist Health Tillamook has with the Tillamook County Wellness Backbone, Tillamook County Community Health Centers, aka Tillamook County Public Health Department. So that's a lot of acronyms and jargon, but suffice it to say that there are a lot of people in Tillamook County working on health and well-being. And I get to run point on that work, and it's super fun. And I get to work with a lot of really great people. And you have before you today a board order to reappoint and appoint a new member to that body. And for people that maybe aren't as familiar as you as commissioners are with this, I wanted to just step back a little bit and explain that in 2015, the Tillamook County Wellness Advisory Group started as a task force to kick off a year of wellness in 2016. And the broad goal was to improve community health and vitality through very, very small, simple actions that we could all take together. That task force established a framework during 2017 that was a little bit more structured and very targeted toward goals like changing cultural norms, policies, systems, and environments that would shape opportunities for people to make the healthier choices, the easier choices, and more likely choices. And that was with an overarching goal to help prevent type 2 diabetes. That's a growing concern. COVID has really brought this issue to the forefront, that individuals with chronic conditions do suffer disproportionately when something like a virus like this comes along, and we want to minimize those risks and help protect the people that do have chronic conditions by supporting their access to making the healthier choices and building their immune systems and being able to have some physical resilience against the bombardment of health challenges that we all face, and particularly in current times. So that group did transition to an advisory committee, and those appointments became an annual process through this action that we have before us today. The role of the advisory council is to provide clarity and guidance and adherence to that framework that was originally established, and also to provide advocacy. These are, I guess I would call them heavy hitters, and we rely on them for resource development, advice, guidance, support, bringing things to a regional and state and even federal level when we can and when it makes sense. So we are really grateful to all of these individuals, and in particular the action committees that really do the work, just similar to the comment that was just made, where the staff is behind the scenes doing a lot that supports the policy making that you all conduct. Our advisory committee is really there to support the work of community members and partners who are working collectively on that bigger, larger aspirational goal of improving population health. And there's a backbone staff team behind that work as well, most of whom are at Tillamook County Community Health Centers. So a big shout out to them as our backbone, and to all of the people who are supporting all of that. I don't know if you will be reading the names in the board order. Should I read out those names, or will that be part of the board order?
So Joel, how does this normally happen? We have a lengthy list of names here. Should we read it as it's brought forward to us, or should we have Michelle read it?
So, Mr. Chair, there's certainly nothing wrong with Michelle reading it if she just wants the record to capture the names, but you don't necessarily have to read the entire order.
So Michelle, I've been looking over the names, and these are the who's who of Tillamook County, so I think if you would like to read them, I think that'd be perfect.
I would really like to honor them as individuals, and really also their organizations, because they have made this a priority. They're dedicating their time. These are volunteer roles, and organizations are having to decide that this is a priority, that they will dedicate staff time and resources and leadership to supporting. So I do think it's important to recognize that commitment. So I'll go ahead and read that list and the organizations that they represent.
Perfect.
Joelle Archibald, the Oregon Health Authority Health Systems Division. Stephen Blakesley, Oregon Health and Sciences University. Dondi Corintas, North County Recreation District. Welcome to Dondi. Dondi is new to the group and new to the community. Ann Getzi, who is the president of the Oregon Dairy and Nutrition Council. Jennifer Garcello, Tillamook School District 9. Frank Hannah Williams, Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Myself, Michelle Yank, Adventist Health Tillamook. Dusty Linnell, Oregon State University Extension Family and Community Health. Heather Oberst, Columbia Pacific Coordinated Care Organization. Marlene Putman, Tillamook County Community Health Centers. Kaylin Cisco, Tillamook County Family YMCA. Mary Faith Bell, Tillamook County Board of Commissioners and our liaison. Paul Snyder, Tillamook County Creamery Association. Lawrence Sorg, Food Roots, non-governmental organization. Laura Swanson with the Tillamook County Pioneer. Eric Swanson with Adventist Health Tillamook. And Ross Tomlin, Tillamook Bay Community College. And Suzanne Weber, Oregon State House of Representatives. And I do want to recognize our outgoing members, Jerry Spegman, who was representing the Reinhardt Clinic as a board member, and Nathan Lindsay, Adventist Health's Human Performance Director, who have served in the prior year but will not be serving this year.
Perfect. As I mentioned, with the who's who of Tillamook County, and you've got some very heavy hitters on there, Michelle. And again, I appreciate all the work. I've always said that Tillamook County cannot survive without its volunteers. And this is a prime example of how we're making people survive in a much healthier way in Tillamook County, and that's perfect. It is. Thank you for what you do. Comments?
Thank you.
As the liaison, I'd just like to thank all of those folks for being willing to be reappointed, and to Dondi Cortinas for being willing to be appointed as a new member. It's very gratifying to see so many people come together to work on community health as a value, and to see the things that are actually happening to move the dial on community health. It's really great work, and I would like to recognize former Commissioner Bill Bartline, who started this several years ago with Michelle Yank. It started as the Tillamook County Year of Wellness, and has grown and grown feet and become really, really important work in Tillamook County. So I'm really grateful to you, Michelle, and to all the volunteers.
I'll just agree. I think that this has been an amazing movement in Tillamook County. As you said, it started as a year of wellness and really just became a movement with so many people, seeing the value of getting involved, and this committee and the folks on it are a testament to that and to our community. We have this ability and way in Tillamook County of coming together to do things that other communities say, well, it's super difficult, we don't know if we can. And we just say, well, let's all come together and see what can happen. And I think this is just a great example of the very positive things that can happen. So I agree. Thank you to everyone who is volunteering on this, both in the steering committee and within the action committees as well.
And I would agree with both the other commissioners, but also say that this is another example of Tillamook County, of the 36 Oregon counties. Another example of Tillamook County leading the way. Tillamook County leads the way in so many different areas, and it's evident when we go to AOC and are able to tout all that we do in Tillamook County. It is, and so again, we appreciate everyone's work on this, and I think we're ready for a motion.
One more thing, Mr.
Sure.
Chair. I'd also like to thank Adventist Health. Adventist Health is obviously investing in this effort, investing in Michelle's position and in organization and resources. And when we started this out, it was entirely voluntary, and so I'm really grateful to Adventist Health as a partner. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I move approval of an order in the matter of the appointment and reappointment of members to the Tillamook County Wellness Advisory Committee.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Michelle. So,
Thank you.
moving on to item number 6, discussion and consideration of a second amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2021-2023 intergovernmental agreement, number 169528, for the financing of public health services. And we have Marlene Putman, Administrator, Health and Human Services for Tillamook County. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning. I'm waiting. Oh, there we go. Got a connection. I was struggling a little bit this morning, but it wasn't IT, it was me making sure I had everything updated. So good morning again, and thank you, Michelle, for providing the information and the latest list of our members for Tillamook County Wellness Advisory Committee. If I could speak just for a second to that before I jump into this modification.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to also mention that all of the members, as indicated, really are volunteers on there, and we all recognize and so appreciate that. It wasn't entirely all volunteers to start, as some of you know, and I think Mary Faith does too. We, Public Health actually contracted with Michelle, so we paid for that time. We still have staff that Public Health and our health center actually pays for their salary to support this work. So I did think volunteers are doing all of the behind the scenes work and managing the finances. The county is on that, don't worry. We're making sure that the resources that come through are monitored and that staff support all of the committees to the tune of, close to a couple $100,000 on behalf of your community health center investment. So wanted to point that out for the public, just in case when we're talking about volunteers, we don't forget those staff who are also invested in the work. So thanks for letting me share that.
Thank you.
So the specific agenda item here is regarding an amendment again. So we talked about that last meeting of not having very many amendments from Oregon Health Authority, but here we go. And this is a good thing in terms of this amendment, as you've probably seen in the attachments. So there are several different increases in funding that you'll note in this agreement for public health that relate to some of the existing program elements for public health, but adds some work and resources to those. So I'm just going to touch on them briefly rather than reading all of the descriptions for every program element. So in your attachment A, you will see a couple of program elements that are called program element 01. A lot of that relates to COVID-19 and communicable disease. Because of the requirement for public health staff really to be involved in monitoring cases, investigating cases, testing, vaccination, they are pulled away from what would be their normal work, including home visiting services, outreach to hard-to-reach populations, dealing with at-risk populations. There is investment in what's called active monitoring. So that's the part, all those things I just mentioned, investigating, looking at vaccine rates and so forth. The increase in program element for active monitoring is $479,044.46. What happens is for all of the cases that we investigate, there is an amount allocated per investigation. It doesn't always cover every one that we've monitored. We did an estimate of what the cost would be, was over 1.3 million if you looked at the reimbursement rate for other counties. So our return for this time, or what's being put in this line item, is 479,000. So we anticipate as case investigation goes down, that this will slightly decrease over time and eventually be removed from that line item as people get back to their regular work. The other item is related to COVID-19 also and CARES Act funding. And here, it's not very descriptive, it says OIP. So what that means is the Oregon Immunization Program. My computer's saying that I have bad network quality, so give me a sign if you can't hear me, just like do a thumbs down or something. You can hear me okay?
You're
all
doing
right.
fine.
So this funding relates to ensuring that children are receiving immunizations, that we're doing outreach and engagement with schools and so forth. We have already received 96,000 of the total 285,502 listed on your attachment A, with the balance of 189,054 included as the increase in this line item. The other two items in your budget update here for an attachment A are under program element 51-01, which relates to leadership, governance, and program implementation. That is new funding for public health modernization. So there's new program elements that relate to communication, outreach, equity, and inclusion. Fortunately, we started this work before the pandemic began. So we have a lot of communication pathways that we developed right at the start of the pandemic. We've been able to test them out and engage you in those through interviews or radio talks or updating our information. But this allows us to ensure we're engaging with those difficult access points or difficult to share information with populations that might not have internet access, may speak a different language, may have a different literacy level than average or lower. So this funding allows us to do that, but also to work on emergency preparedness and outreach and great engagement to the same. So for the leadership governance program portion, it's that 137,997 that's been added for a total of 150,852. So we've received 12,000, now 15,000 of it so far, that we still have to allocate to a couple of new positions, some of which will be through a temp agency, some will be contract, more to come. You'll get to see more about that. And the last item that's been added is ARPA funding, but also relates specifically to emergency preparedness, engagement, and related work with hard to reach populations, and especially with what's been referred to as a BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, People of Color, item. So that totals 57,993. So I didn't go into all the other program elements, but those are the ones where they're receiving an increase in allocation in this amendment. The total increase is $887,614.34, which is the bottom line in this agreement. And there's some different time frames for each one about when reports occur. Typically they're quarterly, and when we have to provide carryover reports. So what we're asking for is the approval of these increased allocation based on the descriptions in attachment A and attachment B in the Oregon Health Authority Second Amendment. This has been reviewed by legal counsel and by me, and we're again just asking for commissioners' approval and discussion. Thank you.
Sizable sum of money there, which is terrific. And again, Marlene, I just have to say that you've been a godsend to our public health department, to the people of Tillamook County. You're just doing such great work, and I for one appreciate it so much. I really do.
Yeah, we absolutely appreciate your work and your staff. I mean, I know that as you pointed out, many of them have been pulled away from what they were hired to do and the type of work that's typical for them, and have been pulled into this pandemic response. And they've all done it with just a willingness and a grace that amazes me. So thank you very much to your staff. And this is great that there's additional funding to recognize that you all can't do your normal build activities, and that you need to be able to have funding to cover some of these costs. I realize it's not probably enough, as you said. It's not everything that it would cost to replace, but it's absolutely a help. So I'm certainly in support of more funding.
Likewise, absolutely. I'm grateful for the work of the health department, and I'm grateful for funding sources. So I'm certainly in support. Mr. Chair, are you ready for a motion?
We are ready for a motion.
I move approval of a second amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2021 to 2023 Intergovernmental Agreement number 169528 for the financing of public health services.
And I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your support. I do have a great team to work with, including you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thank you for that. Moving on to item number 7, discussion and consideration of a Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act of 2000 certificate of Title III expenditures by participating county. We turn to Rachel Haggerty, Board of Commissioners, Chief of Staff. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Commissioners. The county periodically receives Title III funds allocated through the Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act of 2000. And we award these funds to different agencies through a grant solicitation process for purposes that are very specific. There's only 3 or 4 potential uses, and over time, what's basically left for us to spend money on is the Oregon Department of Forestry Firewise program that our community is actively involved with, and the Sheriff's Office search and rescue efforts on federal lands. So, as a requirement of this funding, the board is required to certify, complete this form and send it off to the federal government, explaining how we use the funds, and so that is the form for you today. So, last calendar year, 2021, the county expended to the Sheriff's Office and the Oregon Department of Forestry through 2 outstanding grant agreements, $162,020.51. That specifically paid for the Sheriff's Office drone, as well as the Oregon Department of Forestry's Firewise program, which was almost $145,000, which seems extremely high for 1 year, and that is because one of the invoices from 2020 came in January to the tune of $57,000. So it looks more than it was. So anyway, so we expended $162,000 last year, and I'm looking for your certification on this information to send off. That leaves us with an outstanding balance between the 2 grant agreements of almost $122,000, $84,000 with the Oregon Department of Forestry, and $37,500 with the Sheriff's Office. Ready for consideration.
So can I just ask, so funds not obligated, $8,400?
Yeah, so I think you're right, these funds just trickle in. We never know when we're getting them or how much, and so that's an amount that is hit our account
Okay.
that we haven't done anything with. We usually wait until there is, and interest. I'm not sure how that works, but some of that is interest accrued. Maybe all of it is interest accrued, but that's what the treasurer told me last week was our unobligated amount.
Perfect.
So when we get a larger amount, we do a solicitation.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
So I have a question on the form that, under expenditures, it looks to me like all of the expenditures are bulked into the second cell, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so, the first cell, it says 0, but the first cell reflects Firewise Communities,
Oh,
community program.
that should be split into 2. I'll make that correction. Yeah, so that should say, thank you for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
So the first should say 144,548.51, and the second cell should say 17,472. I apologize.
That's okay. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that we extended the grant for the Firewise program. We extended the grant last year in order to be able to continue that service through the summer. And so I don't know if that has to do with why we got I think that the bill for $144,548 reflected 2 years worth of that service because we extended the grant.
I would have to look at that detail. In my experience with how the Oregon Department of Forestry invoices, we receive invoices very months after the work has been accrued.
Okay.
And currently, the ODF agreement expires in March of this year. So I guess they'll be doing an extension. We need an update on their approach for this summer because they do have a considerable amount of money for this summer's program.
Great, thank you.
Any further comments, questions?
Well, thank you for those clarifications.
We're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act of 2000 Certificate of Title III expenditures by participating county. And I would second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Chair Yummy, could you make an announcement for the person to, I can't tell who that is, to turn their camera off?
Yes, so during our meeting, unless you are participating and have a comment, we ask that you please remain with your camera off. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you as well. Item number 8, discussion and consideration of modification number 1 to a professional services agreement with RSS Architecture PC for architectural/planning services for the courthouse remodel project. Again, Rachel Haggerty, Chief of Staff.
So as you know, we are in the process of implementing a new 3-phase project approach to resolving the issues associated with the space concerns in courtroom 108, as well as overall security issues throughout the courthouse. And that the phase 1, which we're currently implementing, involves switching meeting room spaces with circuit court. So circuit court that operates in 108 will, in the next month or 2, begin operating out of meeting rooms A and B, and the commissioners will go to, after some remodeling, a remodeled courtroom 108. In between that time period, we will be operating likely in the Nehalem room or virtually. That is phase 1, to take the immediate pressure off of their backlog of cases. Phase 2, which we're planning concurrently with the implementation of phase 1, contemplates the construction of a new county annex that would support the Board of Commissioners office and Board of Commissioners meeting rooms. We're looking at 2 proposed locations, one on the south courthouse lawn, which would just have the scope that I just described, or on the lawn to the east, adjacent to the Tillman County Pioneer Museum. If we put an annex over there, we will likely have the top floor occupied by museum offices and or archival storage. Phase 3 will remodel the spaces vacated by the Board of Commissioners office and the remodeled 108. I don't know if that would remain as a meeting room, but there's also court office spaces adjacent to courtroom 108 that would be remodeled for purposes yet to be determined. So there's a lot of support for this approach, and we are working with the state for funding, as Commissioner Yamamoto talked about on yesterday's community call. Also in phase 1, associated with the meeting room swap, is the expansion of the Nestucca room to accommodate jury assembly and also a meeting room space. So the modification before you today amends an agreement that was signed in July of last year to hire RSS Architecture to do the meeting room expansion. At that time, we were just pursuing the meeting room expansion. So with the evolution of this 3-phase project approach, we are amending RSS Architecture's engineering contract to hire them to develop the remodeling plan for 108 and continuing with the expansion of the Nestucca room. So they have only spent about $2,000 to date on the prior scope of work, which was just the meeting room basement, and adding the additional scope of work to help design and facilitate the procurement for and construction oversight for the remodel of 108 brings their amended contract up to $36,928, all being paid out of the building improvement fund. And that is ready for consideration.
Okay, and Rachel, again, I appreciate all of your work on this. This has been a time-consuming project, but it's something that we had to do in order to resolve the issues with circuit court. We've known the courtroom 108 is really barely adequate, if at all. And so this is something that all parties have agreed to. Board of Commissioners are on board, circuit court's on board, the judges are on board, the court administrator's on board. And it seems OJD is on board also. And again, the presentation that you prepared for us to do, when was that, this Monday? Oh my gosh, time flies. Yeah, I think we got great reception at the joint AOC OJD meeting to rank all the projects going on. And again, people don't realize this, but as of the 2008 study Tillamook County had the fourth worst courthouse in the state. Since that time, we've gone up. We're now the third worst courthouse in the state, because one of those ahead of us got remodeled or redone. So we're making progress, and I think you want to call that progress, but I think we're moving in the right direction now. We've been putting money aside since the last time we couldn't come up with a match for our previous annex. We promised OJD and Circuit Court that we would put money aside every budget year, and we have. We're currently up. We put aside almost $2 million to date. We need to continue to increase that fund every year, every budget season, and we're getting there. So again, I appreciate all the work that Rachel has done on this. Comments, questions?
I was just gonna say, prior to becoming commissioner, I didn't realize or understand that one of the responsibilities of the county is to provide space for circuit court. And that's, there are so many different things that the county is required to do for the states, the laws of the state, and this is one of them. And I know that for years we have been looking for the way to provide adequate space. Courtroom 108 has been inadequate for years, but the cost to try to do a new courthouse with, the appropriate circuit court has been extremely expensive. There was a proposal looked at, it was when Commissioner Lampart was here, so it would have been quite a few years ago, and I think it was, if I'm correct, somewhere over $10 or $12 million, maybe as much as 20, to build an entirely new building for the court. So it's really 18 million. It was a lot of money, because the court requires significant security. And I think when we talk about what, being the third worst courthouse in the state, that was really related to what are we providing in services for our circuit court, for their safety, security, adequacy, for jury assembly, all of those things. So this is really a low-cost solution that hopefully can get circuit court back on track with getting the trials they need. So I think it's just interesting to realize that while it seems like circuit court is a state activity that the county shouldn't be responsible for, in fact, we are. So I'm excited that we're moving forward in that. Something that has been intractable for years will hopefully come to solution in our time.
I agree completely. As liaison to Circuit Court, I've been working on this for a year, and Rachel has been working hard on this solution for a year, and I'm delighted that, as Commissioner Starr mentioned, this has been an ongoing problem for a long, long time, maybe 20 years. And I'm very proud that we are the Board of County Commissioners that's actually going to solve this problem. So I'm proud of that, and I think it's the right solution. I think it makes sense. It's affordable. Everything's coming together beautifully. And so I'm very grateful to Rachel for her extensive work on this. And it's interesting because the Courtroom 108 being inadequate for circuit court has always been true, but it's COVID that has exacerbated the situation considerably. And so ultimately this is one of those interesting things on a short list of things that benefits that will have come from COVID, that we're actually going to fix this.
We hope.
We're well on the way.
Yes, thank you for that. Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of modification number 1 to professional services agreement with RSS Architecture PC for architectural planning services for the courthouse remodel project.
And I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Rachel. Item number 9, discussion and consideration of the appointment of members to the Tillamook County Short-Term Rental Committee. With us, we have Sarah Absher, Director of Community Development. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. So yes, I'm very excited to share this order and make this request this morning to formally appoint additional members to the Tillamook County Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee. You recall, at the beginning of 2021, we had a long discussion about expanding the committee to reflect broader representation of our unincorporated communities, recognizing and understanding their needs and concerns related to short-term rentals within their communities. Commissioner Scar and I conducted interviews with those applicants who had thrown their hat in the ring to be considered for this important committee work. And the order before you reflects those applicants that were selected through the interview process to now be included in the Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee. And as you can see, there's additional representation from Nescoin, Oceanside, Tierra del Mar, and Neocani, as well as our tourism industry, and a few more folks that are part of both our corporate vacation rental management companies, as well as business owners and others who help facilitate conversations for homeowners who privately manage their short-term vacation rentals. So it's a very, in my opinion, well-rounded and diverse group of people that will be helping us audit Ordinance 84 and move forward, vetting recommendations for your consideration for amendments in the future.
Perfect. So who wants to read over the list? I think it's great that we recognize all of these people that have, are willing to serve on the short-term rental committee. Sarah, can we ask you to give us, read the names of the people that are willing to serve here?
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure to do that. One moment, please. My computer just froze on my documents, so I'm pulling it back up again. My apologies. It is right here. Okay, very good. So we have existing members of the committee. This order reflects the new members appointed. So those include Mike Saxton, who will be representing South County as a member at large. He is in the Tierra del Mar community. Karen Babbitt, who will be representing the unincorporated community of Neocani. Terry Warren, who will be representing the unincorporated community of Oceanside. Bruce Loveland, who will be representing the unincorporated community of Netarps. Hillary Gibson, who will be representing the unincorporated community of Nescoin. Amy Van Dyke, who will be representing North County Vacation Rental Management Companies. Alexis Tate, who will be representing our economic development sector. And Julie Hurleman, who will be representing our tourism industry.
Perfect. So how many members did we increase this committee to?
We increased the committee to 18 members, and I believe we still have 3 remaining vacancies. But overall, the representation that is now part of this advisory committee is excellent. It's stellar. I'm really excited to begin this work again with this group. And of course, these meetings will be public, so they've already been publicly noticed. Our first kickoff meeting is next Tuesday, February 1st. So all of the meeting materials, everything moving forward will be posted on the community development homepage, along with a virtual meeting link, so that anyone in the public who is interested in listening in and participating in those hearings, or excuse me, in those meetings, we will take public comment at each meeting. There will be an opportunity for a lot of engagement moving forward.
I wish you the best of luck here, both of you, because this is an 18 people committee. That's a large one. It's going to be like breeding cats.
It is a large committee, and I think that it needs to be. You know, the short-term rentals are a very important part of our economy. We have motels, but not a ton of them. We definitely rely on short-term rentals as a place for visitors to stay in Tillamook County, and they are nestled within many communities where people have neighbors that are full-time renters. So there is a lot of, I think, a lot of desire for participation to really dig into this ordinance and determine, are there steps we can take that really help short-term rentals and full-time residents coexist peacefully together. I think everyone has their eye on what happened in Lincoln County, where they, voters took to the ballot to put their opinions forward. And what we're really hoping here in Tillamook County is that we can use this process for everyone to bring their opinions forward, their thoughts, their best ideas, so we can work together toward a solution that is absolutely appropriate in Tillamook County. So the expansion of this committee to 18 members was really important. There are a lot of voices that really need to be at this table, and so we look forward to participating with those 18 members as well as the public. As Sarah said, these are public meetings. We will have opportunity for public comment, and we want to hear from people who have opinions that really feel like I have something that needs to be said, and we want to really hear from people who have ideas and suggestions, realizing and recognizing that short-term rentals are a part of Tillamook County's identity at this point, as well as the full-time residents are our identity. And how do we meld these together to create the county that we all want to live in and visitors want to visit? So it's a tall order, but I think we're up to it.
All right, my thanks to everyone who's willing to serve, and Mr. Chair, you ready for a motion?
I am.
I move approval of the appointment of members to the Tillamook County Short-Term Rental Committee.
And I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
So,
I'll see you shortly.
thank you. Next on our agenda is a 10:30 a.m. time certain public hearing on the potential incorporation of the unincorporated community of Oceanside. So I know we have, I think we have a lot of people that have signed on already, but this is a 10:30 a.m. time certain meeting, so we must start this at 10:30. We cannot move it up. We can move it back, but we can't move it up. So at this point in time, I think we will recess this Board of Commissioners meeting until 10:30 a.m. So those of you that are online, you can log off and log back in later, or you can just stay online. And we'll see everyone again at 10:30. We are in recess.